And it has worked, and we are live, and really good stuff. So welcome to our wonderful panel discussion today. I'm really excited because we've been sitting here with a few tech issues, which is a really good intro to today's conversation, which is all about addicted to beingness instead of addicted to doingness. I think I did the wrong topic. I think it should have been addicted to doingness, which is really something very close to my heart. Of course, my name's Sophia Soul. I have the honor of being the facilitator for today's panel and also the co-creator of Sacred You. And one of my issues, which I'm really going to be really happy to talk about, is I do believe I'm addicted to doing. We have forgot to be human beings, and I think have a pandemic of being human doings. And that was a little bit with the tech. We got caught up in tech. So I said, I'm really excited to have today's discussion. But before we get into the actual conversation, let's introduce our wonderful panelists who are joining us all over from the world. And with us today, we have the beautiful Sara, who's joined us first. So Sara, thank you so much for joining us for today's conversation. Tell us a little bit about yourself and also what interests you in the topic of addicted to beingness.
Hi, Sophia. Hi, everyone. My name is Sara Roccisano. I am an author, a travel storyteller, an international public speaker, and founder of the travel inspiration site Embolden Adventures. And why I like this topic a lot is because I feel like I'm embodying the very topic of being versus doing. So I'm in an exploration of my own, and I'm learning as I go. So I'm excited to hear what our esteemed panelists have to say about this topic too.
Thank you. Thank you so much for joining us. And what about the beautiful Dana? Sorry, Dana. Tell us again, introduce yourself, let us know a little bit about you, and yes, what interests you in our topic today.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. My name is Dana. I am the founder of the Luminary Woman, where I help women liberate themselves in love, legacy, leadership, and wealth. And beingness is I feel like the foundation of a lot of the work that I do with myself, and also how that rolls out in helping women liberating themselves to be. And it is just like Sara said, I mean, it's a constant practice, but I also feel like I've definitely come from the world of more being than doing, yet society has kind of infiltrated that practice a little bit for a certain period of my life. And so I realized I had to get back to the beingness more so and how important it is. So yeah, and I'm excited to be here. So thanks.
Thank you. And I'm really looking forward to having a conversation with you all about that too, because it's it's a challenging thing, but it's also a wonderful experience in getting back to that beingness. So thank you. And Janaki, our beautiful Janaki, who's tuning in from Texas, and I know is really excited to be here. So tell us about you, Janaki, and why are you excited about this?
Yes. I am Janaki with Bhakti Light, and I call myself an agent of change and an alchemist of well-being. I support my clients with turning their wounds into wisdom by going into the perception of the darkness and discovering their light, because those things we avoid, run from, and hide, those are our greatest gifts. And I'm so enthusiastic about this is because this has been one of a juicy flow in my life ever since I implemented focusing on my being rather than my doing. It shifted everything. And this is what I support others with. So what I say is when you slow down, you actually speed up for the frequency of love. And this aligns us with our innermost being. So this is why I call myself an alchemist of well-being, because that's what I do, is support with embodiment and enlightenment.
Thank you. Thank you. We want to know more. We want to know how you slow down and all the steps that you're taking. But thank you. Joe, Last but not least, Joe, who's also calling in from Australia. Tell us.
Hello Australia, hello everybody. Jo Irwin here, and I'm excited about this topic because it has been my life's journey. I work with women also and empowering them to live their best life. I'm the creator of Empowering You and Finding You Time programs, also a speaker, author, and masterminder. So it's a privilege to be here talking about this because it is so much about just embracing every single moment that we have as a gift and transmuting that out into the world. So thank you. It's going to be a great conversation.
It is. So let's get into it. And what I'd like to know let's start with you, Joe, because you were the last person. For you, what's the difference? How do you define the difference between being and doing, especially in the craziness of our modern life, in the context of life?
Yes, interesting. For me, being is it's about being in the doing, if that makes sense. But that's a practice. It's been a big journey for me to actually get to that place of just being in my doing, because we all have to do in the world. We all have businesses and lives and families and things. So, but it's learning how to just be with that, whatever it is you're doing, rather than sort of separating the two and thinking that you have to stop just to be. It's more about embracing both. So you can really be in that doing, if that makes sense. So yeah, it's a bit of a mind, I guess, it's you're really just what's the word I'm looking for? Reframing. It's reframing, that the way that we're doing and the way that how we can actually just be in that doing. Because as I think Janaki said, in that we can get so much information in that process, and we can follow those, those directions or breadcrumbs, as I call it, divine breadcrumbs from just being while you're doing. Bit of a mind twist there, but that's my little piece.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. And would anyone else, without going without picking an individual, would anyone else like to comment even more? Like for you, what is the difference between being and doing? Janaki, yes.
Yes. So I agree with what you're saying, Joe. It is a dance. And what I have found is when you allow yourself to slow down and be with yourself, for me, what I really require is tuning into my body. What is my body telling me in each moment? And does my body say no, rest? And there's sometimes where I say I rest while God does God's best. It allows my nervous system, my mind to relax, and I rest no matter what I have to do. So if I come from an energy I have to do something, then I pause. I don't even do it. And versus from inspiration. So when I'm inspired, lit up from within, that becomes creation, and creation connects us with our God self. And when we're in creation, it's no longer doing. The doing is no longer this do, because the doing, in my opinion, is more of, I got to do to get somewhere. And this is the programming that we have had of, I got to do to get to this place in my life. And then when we can slow down and be like, I'm already there. What are those things that you choose? And you actually become what you choose now versus I'm going to do this and then I will be this. I'm be this now and then let that amplify. So that's in short, and this is a very juicy subject for me, so I could go on, and that's a good short way.
And I'm sure we will be going on. So thank you for that. And it is so good. And I love it how, slow down and rest. So God or the universe or whatever you can do their best. So love that. Thank you so much. And Dana, I'd love to hear from you before we go to Sara. For you, what's the difference in being and doing? And I know you mentioned before that, you're wanting to get back to the being. So what was do you have any personal experiences that you would like to share where you actually realized that you were kind of like addicted to doing, or just being a human doing instead of a being?
Yes, absolutely. So I feel like I was so good at being. Like I really was very present, very connected to my body, knew very early on the importance of it from just a natural space of self-care, of boundaries, of um, just honoring myself, being in the moment, being present. And what's really interesting as I look back to my journey is that it was almost seen as being selfish. It was being seen as, when I want to be and I have a boundary around something and I say no to something, or I would need something, not need, it's requiring something a certain way just for myself, my own well-being. It was often looked at as, you have to be doing, basically. In essence, that's how it basically translated for me. So even as early as, like, I would say high school or a little bit after that, especially when I started, after college, going into the workforce and stepping into a role that was extremely stressful, and the accolades and that kind of projection of the busier you are, the more worthy you are, the more successful you are. And so I really got addicted to that. But I will also say that, trauma played a role in that. Things in my life that interrupted my flow of being because it was hard to be, because then I would have to pay attention to some of the things that were coming up for me. And so it really became like this distraction of doing, until I realized on this journey, like really coming back into my self, my body, healing a lot of things that I started to heal in my 30s. It was that call to remember, oh, I was so good at this. And even though it was my natural essence, those things would still pop up, the selfishness or, so now it's almost amplified to this connection of being with myself, but also being and, with creation, and being in this essence of being in not essence, it's almost like being in integrity. So being very aware, being very present to how I'm being in every moment, even when, like John, even what you said too, even when I'm being and taking those breaks and honoring myself in the process. And so, yeah, I think that experience has definitely, when I was working, not connected to my body at the time, eating terribly, all the things that would distract you away from being, and doing all the things that were not supporting my highest good, I would say.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. And it's
Yeah.
so true, isn't it? We get caught up in doing things because we're distracting ourselves from really connecting to ourselves and the healing, which in the long run is so much more beneficial. We're just delaying and stuff. So thank you. And Sara, I'd like to come to you and to continue this conversation. I just want to continue to go a little bit deeper from what Dana was saying about her experience. For you, is there what's your difference between the doing and the beingness? But I'd really love to know from you too is, why do you think we live in a world now where it's like society glorifies being busy and doing, and when you're actually taking time to rest, people look at that in a negative way instead of, burning out. It's great, but so why do you think society does that?
Oh, we could talk forever on this topic, Sophia. I feel like I have personal experience that can easily give you two sides of the coin. As you know, and as I've mentioned in past podcasts with you, I walked away from a 20-year career, and that 20-year career was highly intense, and it was smack in the middle throughout my entire existence in New York City. So if you could imagine Midtown Manhattan on Wall Street, on Park Avenue, working in high finance, working in private equity, working in government, working in really stressful jobs, growing up in engineering disciplines and, getting my MBA in finance. All that is doing, right? It's thinking with the head. It's being mechanical. It's being mindless. It's looking for glorification through your actions. The better you are in terms of contributing, the more you can kind of brag about your accolades. That is what I think society, we've been conditioned for so long to really think that that's the grand prize, that's the trophy. And, I fell into that thinking as well. So, I hit that surrender point, 2 years ago. And here I am now learning what it means to be. And a lot of my travels around the world, that I had done as a way to kind of counterbalance this busyness, this doing, was, finding, I didn't realize I was doing this, but scuba diving, right? Traveling and going to all these secret sites around the world. That's when I started embodying some sense of, what's going on within, how do I connect with nature? What's this wisdom that I somehow just know to be true and so palpable and prominent? And so that's been my journey as an awakening of, knowing who I am, coming within. And I know Janaki talked about, some of the work you do with your womb kind of healing. And I just came back from Guatemala with the Mayan medicine women. I learned to connect with my womb. So I know that, this essence of being, I'm getting goosebumps. See, that's being. I know that there's more that meets the eye within, and being mindful and being awake rather than being mindless and asleep. So this is my journey that I continue to go on, and stepping away from that old busy world, that masculine energy, and kind of embodying more of a feminine kind of feeling, some magnetism. And that's what my books are about that I'm currently writing. So I'm excited to share those two.
Oh, definitely, definitely. Looking forward to that at the end and stuff. So thank you so much, Sarah, for sharing that, and for Dana, and for Janaki and Joe, for all that, because it's really, I think people can really connect to all our experiences. But for me, if I can share, my addictedness to doing really became around the pandemic. Now, I really thought that the pandemic was there to teach us a lesson to slow down. But yet with the age or the rise of technology and social media, and now we've got AI, it's like we stayed at home, so we didn't have to take the time to travel, which means we could do more and more and more and more. So I'd love to know, not just for my personal self, but I'm pretty sure I'm not the only person that kind of got caught up in the doingness during that time. Well, first of all, how does technology for you women, how does technology affect living in a world of tech and AI and everything else? How does that impact your journey of being? Who would like to do that? Janiki's smiling. Let's go back to Janaki.
So as far as what you said of the pandemic, that I relate as well, because that's where my husband, I was facilitating my chakra series, and I had made up, I got to do all this stuff. And he goes, you're most powerful in your being self rather than your doing self. So I was busy bee Janaki, and that was where the seed was first planted. And that's where I received our world slowing down to speed up. Now, as far as technology, it's a matter of the relationship you choose to have. Everything, even our words, everything is about the relationship we choose. So recently I have discovered, and I no longer have, I used to have a huge block against technology. My dad called it tricknology. And yes, it can be distracting. And yes, it can. And it also can be very supportive as well. So it's how you choose to utilize it and the way you choose to partner with it. So that's what I have found with technology, because now I'm investing in my automation system. So that's actually supporting me where I can be more present with my family versus who's my brain going to remember for my next I am journey, and like investing several hours sending invitations out. And like, so it's really on what relationship and the way you choose to partner with technology, because it can be a distraction and it can be useful. Same as everything, money, everything is about the relationship and the way we partner with it.
Totally, absolutely. Thank you. Thank you. Would anyone else like to comment on that?
100%. What Janaki's talking about there is, you know, it could even be an addiction if you have not got, you know, the perspective of how to use the technology and for the greater good for all. And personally experienced through the pandemic for me, well, thankfully or blessedly, I was already working in the space online, doing programs and working with women one-on-one over the Zoom. And so for me at that time, I actually tapped into more of my creative self. And that's when I developed the group program. I just went, oh my goodness, more women are going to need more support. You know, how can I be more of service? And that's when I tapped into creativity and created the group program, which was phenomenal and supported more and more because we can access the technology can access so many more people for the greater good, right? So I hear you on that choice, Janaki, and how we choose to even have time away from social media as well, like really choosing. And this is what Dana was talking about, that those boundaries, having those boundaries in place for you to make that choice. So it's really important to be consciously aware and not let the unconscious just take us on that, you know, never-ending scrolling thing. And I'm guilty of it as well. But when you're aware of it, it's really empowering. So
Thank you for sharing, Jo. And I just want to give a big shout out to everyone who is watching us. We actually do have a few people watching us, so please pop in the comments anything that you'd like to share, any questions that you have for our panelists, or just your experience of, you know, overcoming the addiction of doingness and to actually step into being. Love to hear you, to be part of the conversation. And Dana, can we go back to you and a little bit more from what you were sharing before, how you realized that the doing is like covering up the trauma, okay, and stuff like that. So without getting too personal, would you like to share any actual tips, any steps, any techniques that you actually practiced, brought into your life so you could balance the doingness, because we live in a world where we do have to do, but to really step into the beingness a lot more?
Yes, absolutely. I love this question because it was actually during my journey after my awakening, spiritual awakening, as I call it, that I started to really dive deep into, you know, who I was, that mantra, right? Who am I? And like, you know, what am I here for? What is my purpose? And realizing that the life I was living was not the life I was meant to live. I was in a very stressful job in New York City as well. And it was just very, very stressful, a lot of long commute. And it was, was out in Colorado actually doing a program and an apprenticeship out there. And I had some experiences out there that really called me back into what I know to be true when it comes to beingness and some of the things that I was avoiding and some of the unearthing of trauma that I didn't even know was there. And when I came home from that trip, I was just being called to start moving my body. And I stood up in my house at the time, which is so interesting when I look back at it, because even though nobody was watching, I felt awkward. And I'm like, why am I just moving my body in my own space with this random music on? And that is actually one of my modalities that I birthed at the time, because it led me on such an incredible journey of knowing myself and understanding myself. And it was called revival dance, but it's, you know, it just opened up a portal for me to really understand what beingness was, because it is so connected to the body. And allowing ourselves to flow, right? So there was so many metaphors within that movement of flow and strength and tuning into something higher than myself. And that really helped me ease into being with my body, feeling safe in my body, no matter what might be coming up, and knowing that whatever is coming up was coming up to heal. So it was like a very intuitive journey where I was just being led and followed. So that is probably one of the main practices. And now it's just more integrating that with the mind, the mindfulness of when I notice myself not being, or even, in conversations when I'm having with my husband, right? Is like when I'm in my being, everything flows, everything's, but if I'm in my head or I'm having a conversation that all of a sudden something comes up, I'm like, oh, I'm not being, I'm doing or forcing or trying to get somewhere. So I would say the body, definitely intuitive eating, all these things connected to that really helped me slow down and be present with myself.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Just the simple things of just moving, allowing yourself to feel, to do that. And I think also for me, it's like giving ourselves permission to feel and to release whatever trauma, whatever memories are there, whatever's holding us back. So thank you, everyone's nodding. Thank you. And Sarah, what about you? Do you have any experiences that you would like to share? Any tips or techniques that took you from, what you were describing of being so caught up in New York City, the life of New York City, to where you are now? What steps did you actually have to take to get to where you are now?
Well, it was many steps. There were many steps. And there was a step after a step that really revealed itself to me at every kind of juncture. There was no grand plan. My old world, old Sarah had everything planned. Everything was, by the book or kind of a roadmap, so to speak. And in this case, when I spoke about how I hit a surrender point, and this was in my apartment in New York City, I just basically said, I quit. I'm going to write a book. And there was no plan. And here we are today, 2 years later, and I'm done with the manuscript of the first of the series of trilogies. But that really is the story of what has happened since I said I surrender. And a lot has to do with what, Dana's talking about. I just heard a calling to go out into nature. I also did go to Colorado, another trip of many that I've been out west. But a lot has to do too with working with wisdom keepers and a lot of my teachers. So when the student is ready, the teachers appear. And a lot of my teachers were, priestesses and, Native American wisdom keepers and energy healers. And even a lot of, kind of my support, that I had kind of found along the way in helping me to get this book written, whether it's a book coach or a publishing consultant or the like. And so for me, my story is, getting out there to see the world as what I do. I'm a traveler, and, I got on a plane and I went out to California and I did a women's retreat, and I got to feel the essence of, Yosemite, the power of the mountain, the power of the redwood trees, the power of the Pacific Ocean, and seeing all the beautiful synchronicities and how spirit was beginning to talk to me as I really surrendered and said, okay, well, what is more than just my brain? What else is out there? And so, I was very, petulant though. I was very like stubborn and I'm an East Coaster who, thinks she knows everything. And what's this feminine stuff? And, so I was very like, tough, if you will. And that had to break down over time. And I'm very grateful for those patient people and loving people around me that helped, guide me there. But a lot, had to do with just, my seeking curiosity and feeling things out and working with these beautiful teachers, and whether it's through nature like the wolves or through the shamanistic practices like in Teotihuacan with the Ruiz brothers in Mexico. There's so many awesome kind of stories. I could go on and on, but those are what my books are going to be chronicling. What brings me to today as a beautiful, authentic self that I am now. A nice blooming flower that I was, 2 years ago.
Thank you. I could just imagine you out on the ocean or in the, the forests and hugging trees and everything else. So thank you. And we do look forward to your books coming out. Thank you. Janaki, and then Joe, I want to ask you, because I know you're amazing mothers and grandmothers too. Tell us about like children. How can we encourage our children to become addicted to being, right? To value beingness in living in a world where they're really pushed to do, to do this and to be better at that and to keep on doing and doing and doing. How can we really change the world by helping our next generation?
What we give ourselves internally, we're giving our children. And this is what I witnessed, the ripple effect, both in my generations of my children and in my mother, and it's the ripple effect. So we are all connected in the golden web of life. And so what we give ourselves internally, our children receive automatically. And honestly, listening, really being with your children. One of the things I love being a mother is giving my children what my inner child desired to have. And by giving them that, I'm giving myself that simultaneously, and it's breaking this chain and showing up for them the way I desired my parents to show up for me. Because I was raised in a yoga family, very spiritual, but there was a lot of disconnection to our feeling world. So one of the things is we acknowledge, what are you actually feeling? We don't judge it, make it wrong. It's okay that you're feeling angry. Let yourself express that. Don't do it through violence. And really, like my children are the ones who remind me when I do get busy. Like my little 6-year-old, she'll be 7 in a few days. She'll come up to me and she's like, "Mommy, take a pause and let's go play. Let's go outside." Or take a pause and let's rest. Like, I mean, they constantly, because when you truly are in the embodiment of your being, your children will ripple this. They don't do what you say. They do what you do. They do who you be. And so I get to witness this because sometimes I can be hard on myself as a mother. And like I was sharing with you that one time about Serena when I was in the bathtub with her, and I was like, I'm not a perfect mother and I'm nowhere near perfect, and I love you very much and I do the best I can. And she goes, "It's okay, Mom. You don't need to be perfect. You're love, and that's what matters." And it's those things that you get to hear echoed back to you because they actually really listen to you, because you're not just speaking your words. As my husband would say, you drink your fucking Kool-Aid. You're not just, you're walking your walk, not just talking your talk. And that shifted everything in my life, where I stopped talking my talk and I walk my walk. And then when I think I'm walking my walk and I'm wearing the mask, then I get reminded. And that's where the triggers come up, where I get to, I'm like, ooh, more to alchemize. So it's not really, I feel it's the reverse. I mean, children already got it. It's really, can you slow down and hear what your children are saying and be with them, really be with them the way you choose to be with your own inner child.
Love that. Thank you. Really slow down and hear what your children are saying, and use them as examples of what you, yes, love that. Thank you so much. Joe, what about for you and your wonderful family? How do you help your children and your grandchildren to really value being instead of doing?
Yeah, such a great question. And I'm getting quite emotional listening to you, Janica, because I'm looking at you women, and I'm in that next stage, and I'm just in awe that you have got it. Like when I was in my, I guess, late 20s, early 30s, like doing what I do now with my grandchildren is totally opposite to where I was with my own children. So it's been a long process for me to even find my trauma. Actually, not find it. I knew it was there, but I would not even want to look at it because it was so freaking painful. and to do the work around that, to heal and see, you know, breaking the cycle. That's what you're talking about.
Yes.
The trauma cycle. And I'm very open and transparent with my children, who are now, I have 4 children. I brought them up on my own, and are now like in their 40s, doing 30s and 40s, doing amazing things in the world. But I see the programming that I created, like the workaholic that you ladies were talking about. They think to be successful, we have to be doing, we have to be, on top of our game and doing all the things. And then with their children as mums themselves, it's like, hang on, girls, you don't need to copy what I did. I know that wasn't the right way, but for me, I was running out of, I guess, lack of self-esteem, having to prove something, having to, find that, that deep-rooted trauma that was running me, and having to really do the work. And for them now, I can talk about this. And then with my grandchildren, it's a totally different story. We're together. Yesterday, I had my grandson for the whole day, and he wasn't 100%, but the greatest gift that they teach us is to be present. Nan, come, let's play Lego. Nan, let's and you have to surrender. I mean, I don't want to miss those moments for anything. And I know there was like, oh, I got to do all this stuff in the background, but just, okay, it's going to be there later. You will never get this time back. So being present. And he was on one of our, Sophia's laughing, he was on of our Zoom calls listening to the entrepreneurs meeting, right? All this stuff he's learning, right? He's learning through us being with them and just being present and listening. And I mean, from the time he was born, we've been meditating together, we've been doing yoga together. So whatever I do, he does, and we know, and they remind us, just to be. So yeah, so much in it. That's my little 2 cents though.
That's okay. And thank you for sharing your little 2 cents. It's very, very valuable. And I can picture that. And I know that you're a wonderful grandmother to the children. And to be able to be brought up in this lifestyle and into Janaki's, and I'm sure, Dana, forgive me because I don't know if you've got children or not, and stuff, and Sarah, when you do, like, to be able to be brought up into that environment would be so healing and healthy, and such a good thing for the world. Such a good thing for the world. So thank you ever so much for sharing that. And what I'm picking up from our conversation is, yes, we live in a world where, we are in one way pressured of the doing, of the striving of being successful. You've got to do. But underlining the doingness is, the need to heal. The need to release traumas and stuff like that, and to heal, and to give ourselves permission to do that. So is there anything that anyone would like to share on that and maybe like with your experience in when you're allowing yourself to heal, the benefit that you're experiencing now in being, rather than being caught up in the doing, if that makes sense? Dana, yes, please.
Yeah, I want to add something to this that I found to be really important, because healing is so not only imperative, but also we want to make sure that we are being in the healing and not doing too much healing. Because what I find in this journey, and I got caught up in it too, is that I kind of felt like I lost myself for a little bit, because I was, as I call it, going down the rabbit hole of healing, of seeking and finding that next thing and the next layer. And I wasn't allowing myself to be present in that, wow, I just had a revelation, a breakthrough or whatnot. It's just like, okay, now I have to go to this place, or, what's that next thing? Or I have a block here, or I have, and so it can be such a whirlwind and an overwhelming journey. And so just something I really acknowledged that happens. It's like an addiction. right? Addicted to being, there's an addiction to healing. And I just think it's so important that we allow ourselves some reprieve, and like allow the healing is going to find us. Yes, there is some doing in it and seeking, but we also can acknowledge that it doesn't have to be our whole life force, because we're always healing from something, right? But we can allow that to unfold and be on earth and still enjoy life and love ourselves in the process.
Thank you. Thank you for
Yeah.
sharing. And it's a wonderful concept, that we can become addicted to healing and the doingness and trying out everything, and you've got to do this and got to try that and got to try that. So thank you for that. And Sarah, what about you? Would you like to add anything too?
Yeah, so I like this topic too about healing, but how it relates to being and how I, discovered how to heal in these moments of stepping away and letting go and shedding kind of that old Sara facade. There was a lot of trauma, a lot of repressed trauma, a lot of it. And it had a lot to do with, when I kind of was doing my deep dive, it was not being heard. It was, putting myself second to the job or anything for that matter. I always came second, or I wasn't enough. And I believe that narrative because that's what they want you to believe, right? They want you to have this sort of compliant, approach. You do what we say and then you'll get a reward. It's very kind of like, robot, if you will. Or the monkey that claps the the cymbals and gets a peanut. It's like after a while you kind of become this mindless machine and you realize that there's more to you than just production and output. And in doing so, there's trauma that builds up from that. And a lot of kind of when I hit my breaking point, if you will, the healing I did was, in nature. I would go out into the woods and by myself and just, go hiking for hours and listen to the trees, feel the snow on my feet. A lot of work I did was listening to David Goggins, quite frankly. I read his books, Can't Hurt Me. Wim Hof, getting into the cold water that is in the lake that was, out in nature near me. But I mentioned being heard, when I realized that I wasn't being heard and friends, compassion that had, healing, a wonderful ear that were willing to actually listen to me. New York City is a very lonely place despite it being very densely populated and, 9 million people on, 5 boroughs. But we're all very individual and we all very alone, especially in my, apartment by myself in my 1 bedroom. So, you learn to kind of behave in a way that's very siloed. But when you start getting out there, and you start kind of feeling the compassion of others and you start to see that there's more than meets the eye than just your, kind of narrow point of view. There's a beautiful cornucopia of beautiful, compassionate people around the world. That helps. That is healing. And quite frankly, too, a lot of the healing I'm doing too is on TikTok and YouTube and speaking and writing and being kind of, fluid in kind of my expressions, listening to others' authenticity, right? Because we can't really rely on the talking heads on mainstream media these days, but we go to TikTok or these sort of other outlets for authenticity. And that allows for us to be authentic. And it's just an ongoing give and take there. So that, I guess, is a little bit of nod back to your technology question in some respects. That camera phone has done wonders in a lot of ways too, because it allows us to speak up and let ourselves be heard and get courageous there too. So it's all of the above. And it's what, feels right for you at the end of the day, where you could feel like you could breathe a fresh, some fresh air, you know who you are, you're solid in that foundation. And you could, raise your head in confidence and say, I got this. Whatever's coming my way, I got it now.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. I want to know more about the TikTok and YouTube. But before we do that, just want to give a shout out to Dina, who's watching us on LinkedIn. And she's saying that she can relate. So thank you so much, Dina, for tuning in. And again, let us know in the comments if you want to share anything else. And it's good to know that, we have women who are watching who can relate to everything, because I think it's something that everyone goes through in this world, and finding that balance of doing, but really stepping into the beingness. So thank you ever so much. Now, before we start to wrap up, is there anything else that anyone would like to share on, this concept of instead of being addicted to the doingness, of how we can really step in to being and really experience that, like, embody it. So
Yes.
Janaki, you were
Yes. Like Sarah was saying, it's been in layers. It's peeling back each of those layers. And as we peel back those layers, then we get to discover what baggage we've still held on to. And it's not that we are broken, it's that idea that we think we're broken. And that's with this old paradigm of healing where we got to that I call it the shame paradigm, where you think you're not enough, too much, broken, or something requires to be fixed. It's really about reconnecting. That's why I like to go back into the wounds and have the wisdom. And so I have, like, a recent experience I had was actually in a breath session, and I heard my highest, I call it my true self now, come through and say, "You're not a human doing. Stop trying to do it all." And then I realized I also had this belief that I took on that was my mother's, and then her mother and her mother and her mother, and found out it's like a generational and a whole feminine thing, because we're meant for receiving. Our physical vessels are meant for receiving, and yet we've had this, like, I gotta do it all. And it's that letting go, the surrender of having to do it all, and trust. And that's what I heard, is you're not a human doing. And when I say, as we get in that human doing self, we get stuck in our head, our stinking thinking. And what I heard is connect more into your heart. Be present with yourself. Be selfish. That misbelief of where, oh no, I can't be selfish. I heard, no, be selfish, because serve yourself first. Fill your cup up first, where you can give to everyone with an overflowing cup of love. And this is, and then I heard, we're here to support you. Let yourself surrender into your support. So it's letting yourself, what I have found, it's the infinity of our Holy Trinity, of being in your divine feminine, of your receiving, and then letting the divine masculine within you be the supportive energy holding you up. And when the supportive masculine and the feminine, they rise together and then burst in the Christ inner child. And that's why I say the Holy Trinity of the infinity. It's the integration of unity within all, within the perception of light, within the perception of darkness, and being. And it's like this, like, again, it's in that rat race of trying to get somewhere. No, slow down. And when you can slow down and connect into your heart frequency, you already remember, you're already there. And all you require to do is tune into your heart, your innermost being, and then everything comes to you, versus you have to chase and get it. And you align with the synchronicities, because when I say you tune in, you hear the symphony of the universe giving you all that you already have. We already created this energy vortex, and we think we have to get it. But it's already here. It's tuning into our innermost being. And this is why, like, in my I am journeys, that's another thing I offer my kids. They come to my I am journeys, where we connect with our highest self and bring into our current self, our true self, connecting. What does our heart say? Not the distractions of our world. Tune into your body. This is why it's so important. Tune into what your body is telling you in each moment, because each moment is a new now moment.
Thank you so very much for that. And all the children who come to your I am journeys are very fortunate. Share a little bit about your journey, of course, that you start.
Will you, oh,
You're right, Janaki. Yep.
will you
Yep.
repeat what you said? You
You're okay.
cut out.
Hey, would you like to share in your own journeys when the next I am journey, because of course
Oh,
people
yes.
can access them both in person and on and tell us about your tribe.
Yes. Okay. So, my I am journeys, I actually have one coming this Friday. I offer them in person and virtual. It is a ceremonial experience, and I use sound because sound, we're all sound vibrational frequency. So it allows you to feel safe, and it's not feeling safe, it's feeling safe and then secure and fully present. So it gives the gifts of stillness, presence, and connection. And when you connect in, you connect with all. So it's a specific structure I offer that connects with your physical body, your emotional body through breath, and then your emotional, energetic body through breath, and then your emotional body through our feeling world, where we dive into the darkness and uncover, go beyond the knowing, because that's where we experience the most growing. And this is my youngest right here. She comes to all my I am journeys, and they love them, and they receive so much. They're a 2-hour musical sound journey. It's an alchemist journey that allows you to connect. Sometimes people go and have an astro travel. Sometimes people connect with their ancestors, confirmation. It's different for everyone. And it's phenomenal. Some people it's been life-changing for. They say it's like cosmic therapy.
Thank you for sharing. And what
You're
about
welcome.
Sounds of the Soul?
Sounds of the Soul. So this is our tribe here, and you get a little taste of the Janaki magic that comes through. I say I use a little bit of NLP sometimes with a whole lot of Janaki. So it's the rewiring of your brain, bringing your head and heart into coherence. And so it's different every time. It is pure organic, what comes through in the moment. And I partner with sound in all of my sessions. Whether it's a drum, whether it's chimes, whether it's singing bowls, I partner with sound in all my sessions. And it actually birthed because of my women's retreat that I started 2 years ago, Sounds of the Soul. And my next one is in Bali. So
All those details will be in the links below. And I thoroughly recommend Janiki's Sounds of the Soul tribe, which is coming up tomorrow at 7 a.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. And I don't know what time it is for you, Janiki.
4 p.m. Central.
Central Time in America. And thoroughly recommend that for a wonderful time to be. Just want to bring in Dina again, who's saying that this so resonates with her. Dance, sing, paint, express your soul's voice is what I feel is healing for her, healing for me, which is wonderful. Saying that it sounds beautiful, and it is, Dina. We do hang around. We will be putting Janiki's links and all the other links in LinkedIn very, very soon. So thank you so much for that, Janaki. Thank you. And for everyone who's watching, click on the links below into Janiki's I am journeys. I've been able to do that even though I'm on the other side of the world. It's incredible. And also come and join us in Sounds and Soul, which we'll talk more about soon. So thank you. And Joe, what about you? Would you like to add anything to the discussion about whether, how we can overcome this addicted to doing this and really step into the beingness, or any tips that you've done about healing? And also tell us about if you've got any offers and about your wonderful tribe.
Yeah, absolutely. And Janaki, you just summed that up so beautifully at the end there. I don't think I could add any more other than maybe being aware of when you're in the doingness, like addicted to the doingness, you're in the busyness of life and you're doing all the things like many women, mothers are. Just notice, what is it that I'm really seeking? What am I wanting to really connect with in this moment, other than validation? Or for me, it was about, that part of not being good enough was the root of all of my trauma, not being good enough and having to prove myself. So when you're in the doing, when you're scrolling social media, when you're mindlessly just, even that's doing, right? think about what am I really truly wanting to connect with, and that piece around connecting deeply with yourself is an opportunity to heal. Simply that, just getting in that place of being with you and learning as much about yourself and not being wrong. So thank you for that. What's in my world at the moment, I'm about to, any women out there wanting to connect with me around my Finding You Time program, which is all about that connection to self and healing and all the things that we get caught up in the world. It's an 8-week group program. It's a beautiful, beautiful program, and women get to connect. It's like more like a women's circle, but we do have a topic each week that we cover around all the things of doing and getting back to that place of being. So that's about to launch next week. Anyone's interested in that, just reach out and find out more. And I'm also the tribe host of Empowering You to Live Your Best Life, which is every Wednesday at 10 a.m. Australian time. So I'm not sure what that is over the other side of the world. I'm sure Sophia will know. But that's a really beautiful space as well, where women come together and talk about from anything from whatever's coming up. And I'm all about emotional healing, emotional empowerment. I use frequency work as well in my frequency in my work as well. So that gets them really, solidly connecting to breaking through the barriers that they think they're possibly not capable of doing. So you can find me on the Sacred You site and in the links below.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And again, thoroughly recommend reaching out to Jo and come and join her tribe too, because both sound healing and steps that we can take to impact is definitely wonderful ways of being. So thank you for sharing that. And Dana, what about you? Would you like to add anything else and tell us if you've got any offers?
I think what Jo and both Janaki shared is perfect. And the only thing I will add to it is understanding that, a lot of women are so stuck in this being, like, even as much as you can say things to do or practice, and just coming from the understanding of, if there's a part of somebody that feels like, I don't even know what I like, I don't even know what lights me up or what my heart is saying, is to just have that compassion with yourself and just stay with the course. For me in the beginning, it was like giving me 10-30 seconds in silence, or anytime I get antsy, just coming back, holding my body, putting my hands on my body. And one practice I do want to share that I did in the very beginning that just came up for me, somebody, I don't remember who was sharing, but I just started intuitively, even at night, like connecting with my body, like just placing my hands on different parts of my body and grounding myself in. Sometimes during the day it might be hard, but that's a really great time to start doing it, is in the morning or in the evening as you're winding down, and just taking those moments. And just having so much grace with the self, in the process. And I have a couple things going on. So the Luminary Woman, which is a one-on-one as well as a beautiful mastermind. There are spots in that, and that's all up on my website under the offers there. But so the Luminary Woman, and that is a very, beautiful one-on-one container. And then also there is the optional group experience. And then there's also a membership that I have. People just want to taste the work, and we meet twice a month, and that's the Luminary Sanctuary. And then I have some other really kind of cool things interweaved in there with other speakers coming in, or just, other women in there wanting to share their wisdom. And so it's just a very organic group of supportive women in this space of teachings. And that's also open. And right now I'm actually until the end of July opening it at a founders members rate. So, it's a really good time to come in before August. And we've only had one call with that so far. So you're not coming in late or any of that. So that's another space.
You never
So
know.
join.
So thank you so much for sharing that, Dana, and again, thank you so much for being with us today.
And thank you for inviting me. Yeah.
And Sarah, what about you? Any last words of wisdoms, and what would you like to offer?
Well, as the founder of Embolden Adventures, the travel inspiration content site, an award-winning travel inspiration content site, I would want to echo the importance of travel in terms of how do you find your being. And a lot of kind of my introspection and my kind of come back to self has been long car rides, road trips, without the radio, without any sort of noise, just you and the open road, whether it's in North Dakota or along the Pacific coast. Just go for a drive by yourself. Give yourself a week. Just kind of discover and explore. And a lot of what I do too in the mornings is my spirit walk. So I'll get up in the morning without any sort of, telephone, anything, music. I'll go walk and connect with nature every day and give my gratitudes. So those two things I think are great ways to achieve a sense of being. Go for a walk on the beach, go travel in that sense too. Go scuba diving underwater, whatever it is to get yourself out of there. Get moving, as we talked about before. Sense of movement and discovery, because then you'll start to discover yourself some more and get away from that ickiness that comes from the doing. Get it out. You let it go, the energy that's getting stuck. So yeah, I would encourage people to go to emboldenadventures.com, emboldenadventures.com. And my book comes out in 2025. So please check it out. I think you're going to really like it. It's the first of a trilogy series of my travel adventures.
Good. We're definitely looking forward to it. When you come back, when it does come out, please do come back and let's share more about that. And Janaki, does your daughter she being here, or just the fun of being Janaki's daughter?
Do you want to share? No, she doesn't choose.
No.
Which I'm surprised because she's usually my talkative one.
Yeah, I know. I've said hello to her for a few times. All right, thank you ever so much for joining us today. It has been a wonderful offer, a wonderful honor. Thank you for Maimuna, who's been putting all the links in the all comments. Sorry, I'm getting tongue-tied. And I just want to go down and to thank Dina, who's also saying awesome, that she'd love to connect with you all. Yes, please do, Dina. We're putting all the links in now as we speak. And that she's also saying you are an amazing, wonderful work healing others. Thank you. All right. Wonderful conversation. Now, very quickly for everyone who is watching, we have many panels coming up every week. We've got one coming up again next week, very, very soon. But why not? But don't wait for them. Come and join Sacred You for $1, just $1, and you get 2 weeks to come and join Janaki in Sounds of the Soul and experience the most exquisite sound healing. Incredible. I mean, for $1, you don't get that anywhere, absolutely anywhere. And you also get to join Joe's tribe, empowering you to be your best life, empowering you to live your best life. Also for 2 weeks, and have some fantastic conversations and do lots of healing. Plus, we have about 20 other tribes that you can join and try them out just for $1 for 2 weeks. After that, if you choose to stay, which we hope you do, there are different packages depending on how many tribes you would like to stay in. Click on the links below. Come and join us. We have lots of other things on offer as well. Our panel discussions, and coming up in September, last thing, oh my God, I almost forgot. September, we have Harmony Fest, 3 days. 3 days of virtual experiences. We will have stall holders on all different avenues of spirituality, holistic, and well-being. Anyone who is in that area is welcome to come and have a stall in the Sacred You container, virtual stall. And I'll also be doing presentations live conversations. We'll also be having simultaneous online readers virtual healing and masterclasses. And I'm hoping Janaki will come back to her masterclass, which is all led on interested. And Joe may not be doing empowering you or finding you. We'll see what happens. Click on the links below and come and join us. And thank you ever so much. It's been an honor to be here with you all.